Let's start with Brentford against Chelsea. This was a strange game because Chelsea went ahead. Nico Jackson should have scored before he did, missed a huge chance at the back post. Chelsea could have been out of sight. Then they could have been 3-1 down. Reguilon's header hitting the post, and it finished 2-2. This was a roller coaster of a game. Was it a fair result, Stevie, when it finished all square?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, both sides had times in the game where they were absolutely on top. I mean, I thought Chelsea were way by far the better side in the first half overall. Brentford, for some reason, looked a little scared, a little shy. Didn't look as though they were going to come out of the shell, and just really sat back at home against Chelsea and let Chelsea knock the ball around. At half time, going in 1-up, I thought Chelsea looked really comfortable. But obviously, Frank has had a word in the shell-like of his players, and we saw a completely different Brentford in that second half. And they came out all guns firing. Chelsea had to take a step back, more to do with what Brentford were doing than Chelsea wanting to. And all of a sudden, they found themselves 2-1 down, and rightly so. But you got to give Chelsea credit. They dug in, they came back. They got the equaliser, and actually by the end of the game, it looked like Chelsea were the side that were going to win. So, yeah, a game that flopped back and forward as far as who was in charge, but an exciting game nonetheless. Some chances, some goals. I mean, a great goal, Wooster. Brentford's second goal with a flying volley. What an absolute cracking goal. But yeah, good game. And I think at the end of the day, 2-2 was probably the right score. But if I'm Chelsea, I'm the happier of the two. Because after the week they've had, I think no question, it'll be nice for them to really show some character in this game and come back and not only get the equaliser, but finish the game strong the way they did.
You're a former defender. You just wanted clean sheets, and if you could chip in with goals or assists, then great. But from a neutral perspective, no goals in a game isn't great. But with these two teams, Brentford with Ben Mee out for the season and basically with a backup defence against a Chelsea side who Disasi might have scored from Palmer's cross, but again, they're not great defensively as well. So between now and the end of the season, is it just a case of, look, see how many we can score because we know we're going to concede for these two teams?
I think for Brentford, it's more a case of we need to tighten up. You know, they're not going to create as many chances as a lot of other sides. So I think the onus would probably be more on Frank to try and tighten things up. I think for Chelsea, you're looking to go forward. You know, particularly with the money they've spent on players, it's not about what's going on at the back, which of course we all know is important. But yeah, if any of these two sides are thinking about it's about how many we score, not how many we give up, it's probably going to be Chelsea because they're looking to push up the table if they can. And so that means that they have to go forward. For Brentford, it's a case of solidifying the position they're in, not necessarily getting up the table, but not dropping down any further.
15th against 11th after this result. For Chelsea, final one on this one before we move on to the other games. What's the rest of the season got in store for them? The transfer window's closed. I just said they're 11th in the table. It's going to be heck of a hard to try and get a European spot. So how do they motivate themselves? How does Pochettino get this side up for a fight and try and get them up the table?
Well, I think the longer than the FA Cup, the more that'll help the Premier League form. You know, at the end of the day, they're not getting in Europe. They ain't going to climb 5 places. You know, today's game showed that they, yes, can go forward and score goals, but they can let goals in as well. And you don't climb the table doing that. So it's about the FA Cup really for them, and that absolutely will keep the fans on the side, and certainly will help the players try and get better. I mean, it sounds like it's a silly thing to say, but we're looking at a Chelsea side that needs to get better. So yeah, FA Cup, no question. They have to stay in it and try and get as far in it as possible.